Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Merry Christmas. It's hard to believe it's less than 2 weeks away. Done shopping yet? I just got done last night, but don't tell anybody. So a couple events I want to talk about in the store. On January 6th, Aaron Bartles is actually going to be in the store. I believe the event is also going to be virtual, but you can go to Baker Bookhouse /events. I should say bakerbookhouse.com/events to get information on it. If you are going virtual and such, you'll need the Zoom link. And then on February 3, Sarah Sundin will be here virtually. So that one I'm looking forward to also. Aaron's I'll talk about a little bit more when we get to her book that just released today. So I'm very excited. We got some really good books here. I look at Jessica's pile and say, nice and big. So I like that. So I'm going to get started. There is one of the nonfiction that is on the list that we are out of. So you can order that when you send your orders in, either virtually or here in the group. So, but our first one on the nonfiction list is Mini Horse, Mighty Hope. And this family's story is about a herd of miniature horses who provide comfort and healing. These are those little horses that show up when there's a catastrophe or something that happens, the school shooting in Oxford or the Kentucky tornadoes that just happened. These little guys will show up. And yes, this is a full-grown horse. This is also a full-grown horse. But this little guy is a therapy horse. So they go in and out of buildings. They go and visit retirement homes and some of these special care places. So fun stories to read. Very, very heartwarming. But if you love horses at all, this is a must read. Mama Bear Apologetics. This is not a new book. It came out a little while ago this year. But we haven't had it in stock until because we sell so many of them, which is a good thing. This is actually a guide to sexuality. This is to help parents help their kids through what is going on in society now with all the not only sexual equality, but also the gender and all the questions about that. So you're able to help your kids navigate through it, maybe even answer some of their questions. I don't know much about Hillary Morgan Ferry, but we've had churches order this in droves, and women's Bible studies are doing this for their children. So becomes highly recommended. I will freely admit I have not read any of it. My kids are way too old for this book. If I tried now, they would just laugh at me. So. Authentically You by Joyce Myers. If nothing else, I love this cover. I think it's just very beautiful. The subtitle is Living Free from Comparison and the Need to Please. I can't tell you how many times I have said that I am so glad that my kids are all grown up and I don't have to deal with trying to mother while everything is going on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and any of the other TikTok, all those fun things, because I don't know if I could have handled it because I was not the perfect mom. Now my kids are all healthy and grown and they actually have children in their own homes and things like that. So I must have done something right somewhere, but in comparison to some of those perfect moms that we see online. And so this addresses that, not maybe in the mother, but as for myself, I have to remember what I see on Facebook and all the other ones I've listed isn't necessarily the truth. It's what they want me to see. So this one lets you know that it's okay to be you. And, and this group here can attest that there's usually something wrong with the list or what I say or how, so my imperfections are usually quite in view. So, and you know what, I'm kind of okay with that. The Best Gift by Walt Laramore. He actually writes these really sweet stories. They're very cozy. They're just lovely about the different places he has been a doctor. Tales of a small town doctor learning life's greatest lessons. So this was out originally in hardcover. I like to mention it in softcover just because it makes a great Christmas gift. It really does, but it makes for a delightful read because they're funny. They're very heartwarming. They tug at your heartstrings. So there's all kinds of good stuff in here. And it just reminds you that living in a small town is kind of fun sometimes. And then the one I'm out of is called Duty and Destiny by Gary Scott Smith. It's actually about Winston Churchill and how his rise to fame, so to speak, and becoming Prime Minister of England was perfectly timed. Obviously, we believe that it's perfectly timed by God. He was put on earth for such a time as that. But it's also kind of fun to read because he wasn't really well liked. I mean, he always spoke the truth. He was always very honest with people, and that made him kind of rough around the edges sometimes. And so he wasn't well liked, but yet he became the prime minister they needed for during World War II. So really good read. I'm sorry we're out of them in some ways. I'm really glad we sold a lot of them. So, but I know a couple of people have come in and bought it just for Christmas presents. So I actually looked at it for my dad. Now that it's out, Dad, you're not getting one, sorry. Maybe next year. So, and then our last one is Joel Rosenberg, Enemies and Allies. This is a nonfiction. This is not one of his fiction titles, but it does talk about the unforgettable journey inside the fast-moving and immensely turbulent modern Middle East. So it talks about, what is going on in the Middle East. What does that mean for the rest of the world and for us, either as Christians and or Americans or both. So very interesting. He does use the biblical prophecies and such for that. So so shorter list. We do have a lot of Christmas books, if anybody is wondering. They are actually they're on 30% off sale. I forgot about that. But anyway, so if you're looking for Christmas books, I didn't bring any up this time, but but Jessica is going to give us a really fun list of kids books, and then I'll be back in a little while. Thanks, Jessica.
All right, so I am pretty excited about a lot of the different titles that I have in this month's list. So let's go ahead and just get right on started. We've got this really cute board book, Catch a Kiss. And what it is it's mom and her daughter going through and essentially no matter where you are, my kiss will find you. You will be able to catch it. And at the end, the daughter goes, yeah, you'll catch mine too. So super adorable. All right, love, Where's My Little Love Bug is another really cute one. This is a flip the flat book. So it's got different things that you have to find little hidden bugs. And then at the end, there is a mirror so the kids know that you're their little love bug. All right. And then Bearstein Bears came out with one of their bulk books. This is Values and Virtues. So it is books that are already published. But they're all condensed, so you don't have those little individual ones. You'll have multiple stories all together. And then, it's a great question. Which ones are in here? Love Their Neighbors, Patience Please, The Golden Rule, Honesty Counts, Do the Right Thing, Show Some Respect, Kindness Counts, and Get Involved. So it's different values and virtues and how to be good Christians. And then we have Pembroke's Creature Pretoria by Andrew Peterson. This is part of the Wing Feathers saga. It's just a little guide to all of the creatures in their different books. So it gives different descriptions and illustrations to go along with the fiction book. And then we've got some really great picture books right now. So this is the Candy Dish. And what it is, the main character goes through and each day there's a new candy in the dish. But every time she eats one, she wants more. But when she goes to open it again for that second candy on the same day, she can't open it, it's stuck. So she learns that she has to enjoy what she's given while she has it, because she never knows when she's gonna get more. And then Isaiah and the Worry Pack. I was actually really enjoying this picture book. When I was given the description, I knew it was going to be good, but then I read it and I got chills. It's a really good book. So he learns that God takes our worries from us if we give it to him. But through it, he tells a story about how he goes into the forest. And while he's in the forest, he meets Jesus. And as he's telling the story, he's learning along the way that Jesus is gonna always be there for him. He can go to this forest anytime and meet with Jesus and take the worry from him. And then his little worries get turned into trees. So he actually gets to enjoy the fruits from it. Okay. And then we have The Do-Over Day by Julian. This is a great book that teaches how, sometimes we don't need to repeat what's already been done, but we need to change how we react to it. And this little girl is telling her grandma how she needs to do that. She had a really rough day, but her attitude wasn't quite right. So when she says she wants a do-over day, she doesn't want to repeat anything. She just wants to do things better. All right. And then we have the one red sock. So we all know, especially with kids, socks go missing and you can never find a pair. And our little hippo here in the story tries to find the second red sock. In the meantime, though, she tries on all of these other different colored socks. And finally, she goes, you know what? I like having mixed match socks. These are really fun. But then she gets up and we discover that the sock was always there. She just didn't quite look hard enough. All right, we have Patrick Picklebottom in the Penny book. This is another fantastic picture book. I really was excited to read this one. So not only are the illustrations great, but the whole purpose of the story is to teach kids that you don't need the fancy $100, $400 electronics. You don't need all the money to have adventures. You can buy a book for a penny and go on all of the adventures that way too. And it's sometimes better because now he gets to dream about all the things that he's read about. All right. I do have a couple different Christmas books in the list here at the end. So we have 'Twas the Season of Advent. This is a timed-based book, but Glennis Nellis does a fantastic job with all of her books, and the illustrator is just great. So in the book, there's different stories, and then she's got different like little devotionals added into it as well. All right, and then we have A Simple Christmas on the Farm by Phyllis Elsdorf. This is just a great little story about Christmas and how sometimes just having a simple Christmas is really what we need. And that is all I have for you guys.
Christian content.
There isn't a whole lot. This is more general market than having Christian based content. It's still clean, it's still good, the values are still there, but it doesn't necessarily point directly to Christ, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Jess. By the way, that Glennis Nellis book is gorgeous. Make sure you look at it before you leave. So I actually have two different stacks here. The first stack you have on your list. Okay, you have it all printed out. The next stack I have all came out today, except for one, but we finally got it back in the store, so I wanted to mention it. So we'll go through the list first that you have there printed, and then we'll move over to the other one. And I'll try to remember to slow down, do the titles and the authors of the series for you, but please shout out if I missed something, okay? I'm gonna rely on you guys. Michelle Grip. This is set in England in 1815. I believe it's considered a regency, but I can never remember the exact age or the years that it is. But Amelia is often dreamed to tour Egypt as a travel writer. And when her wish finally comes true, but then her father dies and a whole bunch of other things happen. So we don't know if she actually gets to go. So this is that story. That is her story of wanting to travel and such. So Michelle's books actually are very accurate historical wise. They also have a good love story in them. The Cartographer's Secret by Tia Cooper. This one is set in Australia, as all of Tia's books are, which is kind of fun to take a little tour of Australia. This one is set in 1880, and Evie Ludgrove. You know what? I should never try to say last names of characters. These authors do such a fun job of finding last names that I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce that one. She loves to chart the landscape about her home, and this is what she does. That's what a cartographer is they make the charts and such for settling the land and knowing what is there and such. So it is her story. It is something that a woman wouldn't have probably done very much of back in the 1880s, but it makes for a good read. And like I said, you get to go to Australia, so how horrible is that? Shadows of Swanford Abbey by Julie Clausen. I just read this one over the weekend. I had one of those rare weekends where I had a lot of time to myself and did some good reading. Thoroughly enjoyed it. To make you feel better, I didn't read all of it over the weekend. Okay, I was probably halfway through it. So I just realized this is a 300-page book. I did not read it all in one weekend, just to let you know. But you know, she's one of my guilty pleasures. It's a Regency romance. This one also has a really good murder mystery in it, which was just kind of a fun addition to the story. But I like her books. They are all Regency romances. She has one 3-book series plus a Christmas novella that goes with it, but everything else is standalone. So you can read them in any order you want. I have my favorites. This one is pretty close to the top of the pile for being favorites. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So but yeah, she's got a lot. So if you haven't read Julie, start soon, because these are really good. Even if you don't like Regency, which I will admit that's not my favorite, but we got some good Regency writers. Proposing Mischief by Regina Jennings, book number 1 of the Joplin Chronicles. Regina is one of those historical writers that, you know, you could say historical romantic comedy. She writes those kind of books. They are funny. They are just kind of quirky. You know, there's just a lot of fun banter and dialogue in them.
This is book number 2.
It is book number 2. I'm sorry. I can read. I should get glasses. It's the small print. I'm going to blame it on that. But thank you. It is book number 2 for those online. So, but anyways, they still see. I was just trying to make it funny. Or not, but anyway, so I do like reading Regina's. She's got several of them, and that's what makes them fun to read. They are pretty much standalones. It's the areas that kind of are where she sets one series. So obviously this one is going to be in Joplin, and I'm not sure what state. I know of a couple Joplins in the US. That's the one I was thinking of, Joplin, Missouri. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look. I haven't had a chance to read that one yet, but it's nice when I have authors like this that are really good, and I don't have to read every one of their books because I know they're good. So, Sarah Loudon Thomas, The Finder of Forgotten Things. I really like Sarah's books. These are those nice, gentle reads when you need something because your life is chaotic or the holidays are coming and all the relatives are coming over and everything is just. And so Sarah's books are one of those that just kind of calm you down. They just have a really gentle story to them. They remind me of, and okay, you know, this is how people's brains work, but they remind me of the Waltons. You know how the Waltons were always this kind of calming effect. They always had something major happen and then, you know, family came along and everything was happy and wonderful afterwards. Sarah's books does that for me. It calms everything down, even though there is an issue in there. In fact, in this one, you have a young man who promises that he can find water for these cities during the Depression, which when the Dust Bowl was going on was a big thing, and of course takes their money and leaves. So you know, there is an issue in the story, but the way she writes, it's just, I don't know, it's just a balm to my soul. So so I have enjoyed them all. This one is actually on my shelf to read during Christmas when all the relatives are over, so they can't find me. But anyways, I won't tell them that. Don't tell anybody. So, but anyways, I really like her books. And then Mel Starr, I have got to say, I have enjoyed all 14 books of this series, seriously. They are very unique because of the time they're set in. They're set during the Dark Ages. I don't know if it gives me an actual date right now. You can look up some of the other ones. And before anybody asks, no, I do not have all 14 here. I believe I can order all 14, but also check our used books once in a while, we get them in there. These are murder mystery books where when you're trying to solve it along with the main character, Hugh, you go, well, take the guy's fingerprints. Oh, wait, it's the Dark Ages. You can't do that. Oh, well, let's do DNA. Oh, we can't do that. And so you learn how they actually solved mysteries back in the day, so to speak. And it's just really, to me, fascinating. Mel writes a really good historical book without making it boring, you know, because it's just one of those times that you think, oh, there's not much that went on, but a lot did. This actually mentions John Wycliffe, which should ring a few bells. So I will admit, okay, I did have this question at the Holland one I was going to mention earlier without pausing, but you should read them in order, because Hugh ages as the series goes on. I have to admit, I have jumped around a little bit just because of the availability of a book. If I needed a book and it was on the shelf, I read that one, not the one before it. And I really didn't miss anything, but he is single, then he gets married and he has children, you know, so he continues to age. So you're going to know some things throughout the series if you read them out of order, but I haven't really didn't miss a lot. So just because I knew somebody was going to ask. Behind Love's Wall by Kerry, Fancit, if that's right, Pickles. This is part of the Doors to the Past series by Barber. They're all individuals. They all are set in a certain town. And then the author writes sort of a mystery or ghost story about where that's set. The first one I did, and I always remember, is Allison Pittman's, who did hers, Lady of Residence, and it was set in Houston, Texas, which was very good and very creepy. It really was. This one, happily, is set on Mackinac Island. Yay! I love Mackinac Island. To be honest with you, if I had relatives that lived closer there, I'd probably live there. But kids are too far away then. But anyways, so this one is actually a dual time also. It is about a contemporary woman who has her own show on what we would probably call the DIY network or any of the Discovery channels. She redoes lawns and landscaping. And so she is asked and hired by the Grand Hotel to redo their lawn and their landscaping. And so she does, and then she finds this journal that was written by Lily, who was one of the singers for the Grand Hotel way back when. So, and it's Lily's story. So I don't want to give away too much of it because I want you to read it too. There is a romance in it. Barber usually has romances in their books, but it doesn't take away from the really good kind of shivery ghost stories that they're telling in these books. So, and I've heard many different stories from Mackinac, whether from the Ford or Grand Hotel or various places that they talk about being haunted. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But anyways, it makes for a fun read as I throw that on the ground. And then the Thorndike and Swan Regency Mysteries by Erica Vetsch. I can never say her last name, so go right ahead and pronounce it in your head. The Debutante's Code. This one is, oh shoot, I thought the date was on the back, 1816. So right along with our first one, same thing, but this is not the same thing. That's not fair because it's two different authors and two different stories. This is Lady Juliet Thorndike. She is daring and brave and exceedingly clever, which I think is just a hoot when you describe somebody that way. But anyway, so she has a mystery that she is going to solve, but she also has the Regency romance parts of it in there also. So makes for a good read. I like Erica's books. They're easy to read, they're fun to read, and they're also interesting because she does a good job again with her history and her research. And then Susan Mae Warren has started a new series, The Sky King Ranch. Book number 1 is Sunrise. I was just trying to think if I knew off the top of my head book number 2, but I don't remember the name of it right now. So, but she writes, instead of the romantic suspense, she writes some romantic adventure books. And that's what this is. It's about first responders in Montana, I believe. And our main character was with the Air Force. And so he has issues to deal with that while he is also flying in the air to the Sky King Ranch. So, of course, it's always nice to visit Montana. It's a gorgeous place to be. Oh, you know what? It's not Montana. It's not. And I can hear Susan yelling at me because it's Alaska. That's even better. Well, differently better. How's that? So, but I always look, Susan's books, they're always that romantic. And then suspense, and she has done suspense, but also the action. They are the dual storylines. I mean, they run about the same. You'll have as much romance as you will have action. So just know that. She has a ton of fans. So if you're not carrying them, but you carry a lot of romantic suspense or the romantic adventure that's happening, this is probably an author you should look at. So then Wolf Soldier, when this was presented to me, I hemmed and hawed whether to put it in teen fiction or adult fiction. I have it in both. You'll find it in the adult fiction. I think the teen fictional one that I had in there is gone, but it's number 1 at the Light Raider Academy. And I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I'm always looking for a good fantasy book. If you go online and look up Wolf Soldier or look in James's website, he has a lot of things for these kids to do along with this book, all Christian and religious based, because he is trying to help kids find their way through the muddied world of fantasy that sometimes when you read the secular books, you know, they can be, wow. We'll just go with that. But this is a good one. It is definitely more teen themed, but anybody that likes good fantasy will like to read it. Our young wolf soldier, he is living in this land where they have been promised that the dragons and the orcs and the goblins are under control. And then one night him and his mom and dad are attacked by a goblin, and of course changes his world forever. So, so very good. I'm looking forward to book number 2 already. And then the last one on this sheet, the Amish Quilting Bee. I've been mentioning these because I've been selling more and more of these again. Amy Clipston, Catherine Fuller, and Shelley Shepherd Gray. Each tells a little story. They all kind of tie in together. Just really nice, light Amish reading. And actually from 3 very good Amish writers. So I know some of you still carry a lot of Amish books, and a lot of people do read them. I still sell them here by a lot. So it always makes for an interesting read. Okay, so this next grouping is not on your sheets, and I'm really sorry because we were unsure whether we'd have them today or not. So I didn't get them on the sheets because I didn't want them on there and then me go, okay, so pretend there's a book in there. So, but I did want to mention that we did get Mitch's book back in, The Stranger in the Lifeboat. We have had it in and out. I keep ordering more quantities at one time because I can't keep the silly thing on the shelf. I have not had a chance to read it myself. I have had more than one person tell me I got to read it, and I will. It's Mitch's book. It's always good. But I just have not had a chance. But it is, I think it's on special for $20.97 here until Christmas. Might be the end of the month, but I believe it's Christmas. So get your copies soon. Okay. Life Flight. They should think that through before they name things like that, because they're hard to say. This is by Lynette Eason. Book number 1 of Extreme Measures. That's her newest series. And this one, she is the romantic suspense writer, but she also has a little more adventure in this one. It's an EMS helicopter pilot. And then she is forced to land in the mountain and what happens with that. So, and how the rescue happens. So again, these came in today. Technically, they were in the building last week, but I couldn't say that. So I didn't say that, right? So I haven't had a chance to read all of them yet. And Lynette is one of those authors like Regina. She's just consistently good. She's one of the authors I sell a lot of books to guys for. They enjoy reading them too. So again, you're going to have the romance and the suspense walking side by side, but it makes for a good read. Then her Darling Mr. Day, book number 2, by the American Royalty by Grace Hitchcock. There's a T in there. And so these are those light romances that are just fun to read. I was gonna say, I can't think of it. I just saw it. Oh, shoot. Book number 1. I do have on the shelf. But I am so blanking on the name of it now. That's too bad. Shoot. And truly, oh, My Dear Miss Debris is book number 1. So these are definitely a romance. They have a lot of humor to them. They do talk about American royalty. They are set in the back in the day of the 1883s. So, you know, you can think of that, what that period was like and who was around the Vanderbilts and all those. So that's what we're talking about here. This one is, let's see here. Again, I haven't had a chance to read this one. So Theodore Day decides to lose himself in his family's luxury riverboat business in New Orleans. And so it goes on from there. So no, it is a romance. Okay, historical romance. Waters of Time, book number 2, Never Leave Me. Come Back to Me is book number 1. It is going to be a 2-book series. This should be the end of it. This is a time travel book, not a dual time travel. Same character. She ends up back in, I believe, the Dark Ages, because there is a a remedy for the illness that runs hereditarily through her family. And so she is trying to find it. That is book number one. Book number two continues that storyline, but with her sister. I really enjoyed book number one. I'm not a huge fan of time travel books, but I really like this one. I did. So, and part of it is probably because Jodi's a really good writer. And it just was a bit different. So, and I love the covers. I think they've done a beautiful job with these. Oh, we had that one. Treasure an Heiress by Rosanna M. White. Book number 2 in the Secrets of the Isles series. So Rosanna, and this is in 1906 one, I'm thinking of it's on the back. Rosanna does these historical romances that are very, very good historically. She does the research so you know that what she's writing about historically did happen, or you know, were part of that natural story. So there's still fiction. Every once in a while, some, you know, actual person might show up, but these are definitely fictional stories. This one is Beth, and she has always wanted to draw or go on an adventure. And so she has a desire to explore every inch of the Isle of Sicily. And so that was partly what this story is about. So, and what her adventure is. Heart Adrift by Laura Franz. I am probably about 3 or 4 chapters into it. Just started it last night. I love Laura's writing. She's always got this beautiful way of writing her historicals. There is romance in it, but it is considered more historical than historical romance. So you have more of the history. She is one that loves to write around the pre and during and just after the Revolutionary War. So this one starts in 1755. I am looking forward to every minute of this book. Like I said, her writing is just beautiful. Did I say the title? Probably not. A Heart Adrift. Okay. And I don't think Laura has ever done a series. I think all hers are standalones. Oh, there is the Valentine Legacy. But otherwise she's all completely standalone. So there's one small 3-book series. You can see it in the front of the book. And then lastly, I want to mention this book. I did get a chance to read this one early. The Girl Who Could Breathe Underwater. Erin Bartles is going to be here January 6th to talk about this book. And I am so excited. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I first found out it was about an author writing a book about an author writing a book. And I always worry about that because sometimes those books can become, you know, very self-indulgent of the author. Look how hard I worked, for me. This is not that type of book. This is a very, very good story. It's about friendships made and friendships lost. It's also about things that have happened in our past that we do need to forgive ourselves, but also other people for. It is beautifully written. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't recommend it strong enough. It is, you know what, it's just a good book. It really is. And the nice thing is it's set in Michigan, so it's kind of fun. There were some parts of it they were describing the little cottage on the lake that they stayed on, and I'm like, I think I've stayed in that cottage. Or we all have somewhere along the line. So thoroughly enjoyed this book. I do strongly recommend it for anybody that likes the good literary fiction. It is well done. So, but that is all I have. If you online have any questions, please let us know either through the Facebook page, or you can email me at chris.jagger@bakerbookhouse.com. You're welcome to call the store too, and let us know if you have any orders. Thank you. Merry Christmas.